Hello, everyone. So, welcome to this episode 5 of our webcast series on basics in feline reproduction. So, again, this is a webcast series dedicated to feline breeders or people who want to start breeding cats and who are looking for some information on essential things to focus on. So, in the previous episodes, we touched on parturition, we touched on gestation in the queen, and on how to select the male and the female before breeding. And today, we're gonna focus on what to do with the newborn kittens. Well, not what to do, but what you need to know about those newborn kittens in order to optimize their health and their chances in this world. So let's jump to our slides as usual. Oh, where are my slides? They're here. Here we go. Perfect. So as you know, feline neonates, first of all, this neonatology, this period that goes from birth to 2-3 weeks of age, during this period, lots of things can happen. And today, we're going really only to focus on what I consider the essential things you guys need to know. But there are much more things we can cover. Usually when I do a talk on feline neonatology, it lasts 3-4 hours. Today, we would really focus only on what I consider the essentials. And if you think about it, newborn kittens, try to think of some adjectives to qualify them. Basically, you will think fragile, you will think dependent, not time consuming, but requires lots of care, etc. So you see, these newborns are fragile, and there are essential tools you guys need in order to monitor their health, because they are the product of your genetic selection program. So you want to give them their best shot when they are in your cattery. And again, there are few things you need to do this properly. And in fact, if you sometimes I see on the internet that there are huge lists of things you should need, etc. In my opinion, there are only 2 essential tools you guys need inside your cattery to monitor their health. You need a thermometer and you need a scale. These are really the 2 things you guys need, because there's one thing you need to know about those newborn kittens. They are highly susceptible to what we call the 3H syndrome. The 3H syndrome stands for hypothermia, hypoglycemia, and dehydration. And hypothermia is something important. This is why you need the thermometer, because newborn kittens at birth, during the first week of life, keep in mind that their body temperature is usually around 35-36 degrees Celsius. It's very different from an adult, very lower than an adult body temperature. And that's important because they are not able to shiver at this very young age. In fact, they are not able to thermoregulate their body temperature during the first 3 weeks of life. So if they're cold, they will get colder because they will not be able to increase by themselves, by shivering like adults do, their body temperature. And this is important because when temperature drops below 34 degrees Celsius, there is no more digestive transit. They are no more able to digest anything. So think about it. The first reflex we have when we think that a kitten is not doing well is that we're going to try to bottle feed this kitten, while in fact, the first reflex you should have is to check its body temperature. Because if this kitten is cold and if you're bottle feeding it, unfortunately, he will not be able to absorb those nutrients, to digest those nutrients, and he will typically, the stomach will bloat, and this will potentially lead to false aspiration, etc., because there's no more digestive transit at all. So always focus on the temperature in the kitten. You need to put them in an environment where they can maintain this body temperature around 35-36 degrees of abdominal temperature. And if they're cold, as I said, they won't eat. And if they won't eat, if they don't nurse with the mother, they will develop what we call hypoglycemia. kittens at birth, they have very low reserves, and if they're not eating properly, if they're not nursing properly on their mother, they will develop this hypoglycemia problem. And typically you will see them having seizures, you will see them becoming lethargic, being weak, etc. So it's important to ensure that they're drinking, they're nursing properly. And that's where the scales come in, because rule of thumb, a healthy kitten gains weight on a daily basis. So typically they can lose up to 10% of their birth weight the day after they're born, because they're going to defecate the meconium, those first stools, and they can lose some weight at this time. But after that, if they are nursing properly, they should always gain weight. If they are not gaining weight, if you see them doing a plateau, or if you see them losing weight, there might be an issue. And sometimes this problem shows up 24 hours before any other clinical sign. So this is an indication that maybe they're not getting enough of milk from their mother, or maybe the milk quality is not optimal, but it definitely tells you that something goes wrong. And obviously, if they're not drinking properly the milk, they will become dehydrated. Those kittens are the proportion of water in the body of these kittens is very important. It's much more important than what we find in adults. So they can get quickly dehydrated. And as you can see, it's a vicious circle, because those three things are interconnected. So hypothermia can lead to hypoglycemia, but dehydration, if the kittens are dehydrated, they can develop hypothermia, etc. So as you see, you have very simple things you can do to monitor the health of those kittens and to prevent these disorders that can impact their health. And as I said, it's important that the kitten nurse properly. And when you breed cats, you know that sometimes, unfortunately, some situations can show up. And one of the situations you can eventually run into is that the queen is not producing milk. So one thing I would always recommend you when you deal with before the newborn kittens are here, always have a dedicated milk replacer on hand, because you'll never know, and when you need that, you need it right now. So have it on hand each time before a litter is born, because you'll never know if you will need it or not. And when it comes to milk replacers, I really think you need to use a dedicated feline milk replacer. I'm telling you that because sometimes I hear people saying that, oh, we can use human milk replacer, or we can use goat milk. I hear a lot about goat milk. These are not appropriate alternatives. We know that the milk of the queen is highly specific. And think about it, the growth period of kittens is very short. At 1 year of age, they will have reached their adult morphology for most of them. So the milk of the feline in the feline species is very energetic, way more energetic than what you will find in goat milk, way more energetic than what we will find in human milk. Moreover, human milk often contains starch that newborn kittens are not able to digest. So again, target a milk replacer which is dedicated for felines, because this is what will better answer the nutritional needs of these newborn kittens. And as I said, you'll never know when you will need it, so have it on hand. Remember that 2 queens out of 3 will give birth in the middle of the night. So if they give birth and you don't and they're not lactating, it's good to have this on hand just in case. And when you bottle feed, if you have to bottle feed the kittens, the position is important. So you see the position here. Very often I see people who want to bottle feed kittens the way they would bottle feed a human baby. It doesn't work this way. So it's important to use this proper position, and the type of bottle you use is also important. Use bottles for felines, for newborn kittens, because human bottles, very often the flow is too important, and it can increase the risk of false aspiration. Those newborn kittens are not able to carve properly, to expulse the liquid in their lungs. So if liquid gets into their lung, it can increase the risk of them developing bronchopneumonia. So, and this is something you really don't want to see in newborn kittens. In certain cases, those kittens will be too weak to be bottle fed properly. So don't I think all breeders should know how to tube feed a newborn kitten. This is not something complicated. You just need to practice a little bit and ask your veterinarian to teach you how to do that. It's a very, very simple technique that can help you save some lives. And I know that when I was working at the vet school, sometimes we had kittens which were in very bad shape. They were just too weak to be bottle fed properly. So after warming them up, remember the first thing to do is always to warm them up. When their body temperature was okay, if they couldn't bottle feed, we were tube feeding them, and this way we were able to save many of them. So don't hesitate to ask your veterinarian to teach you the technique, because this can come in handy when you deal with newborn kittens. And the last thing to focus on is really the colostrum. So you know that the colostrum is the first milk produced by the mother, which is enriched in antibodies. Because your newborn kittens at birth, they have no immune system. They will receive their immune system via the consumption of this first milk of the mother, which is very rich in antibodies. And these antibodies will be able to cross up the intestinal barrier and provide them with their first immune system. It's a passive transmission of immunity that occurs just after birth. And it's important to keep in mind that kittens are only able to absorb this colostrum during the first 12-16 hours after birth. So as soon as they're born, they need to receive the colostrum as quickly as possible. And by receiving this colostrum, this will ensure that they will have antibodies, they will have this immune system to protect them against the most common pathogens that are present in their environment. Colostrum is important, but in certain cases, colostrum can be detrimental to the health of those kittens. And in fact, there's only one exception. It's a disease called neonatal erythrolysis, blood group incompatibility that exists in the feline species. Maybe you know that in felines, you have 3 different blood groups, A, AB, and B. AB is not so common. We have mainly individuals which are A and B. If the mothers are from the B group and the father is from the A group, for instance, you might end up with a B mother and also with A kittens. And if kittens and mothers which in fact are from the B group have lots of antibodies directed against red cells from the A group, which simply means that if those kittens which are from the A group drink the milk from the B mother, they will receive a lot of antibodies which are directed against their own red cells. So they can get intoxicated somehow by the milk of their mother. So, and this is something we can find in purebred cats in certain breeds like Rex Devon, Rex Cornish. Up to 60% of individuals are from the B group. Even in exotic short hairs, for instance, 25% of queens or of individuals, are from the B group. So keep in mind that depending on the breedings you do, depending on the partners, you can see neonatal erythrolysis in your newborn kittens. And basically, the clinical symptoms will depend on the amount of colostrum these kittens have received at birth, have drunk from the mother. But sometimes you can have hyperacute death. The kitten just drink the colostrum, and because there's this blood incompatibility, it dies right after. So one way to avoid that, always blood type your cats before breeding. Try to find out if the mother is B and the father is A. You know that there's a risk when you're breeding them. Again, sometime maybe in your genetic selection program, this is a kind of breeding you would like to do. There are some alternatives. But first, to avoid any complicated situation, blood type your cats before breeding, because this will tell you what to expect in the litter. So that's what I wanted to tell you today on newborn kittens. So again, as you could see, we didn't speak for long, but these are really the key elements you need to have in mind when it comes to newborn kittens. There are much more things to say, as I mentioned at the beginning. And again, don't hesitate to visit our website, to check our blog posts. There are videos here that cover in much more details the different points we touched on today. Don't hesitate to go there. Don't hesitate to send me your question, if any. I'll be more than happy to help. Again, the feline breeding world is a very small community. So the more we work together, definitely the better. So thank you very much. If you've watched all the 5 episodes of our feline webcast series, again, I hope you learned a few things. I hope it stimulated you to learn even more about those specific those specific discussions, and I'll be more than happy to help if I can. Again, I'm very easy to find, so don't hesitate. If needed, you know where to find me. Have a great day. Thank you for watching us, and I hope to see you soon in a future webcast like that. Bye bye.